Buenos dias. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, a proudly progressive spiritual community. I'm the Reverend Tim Kutzmark, and I serve gratefully as minister of this congregation, of this spiritual community that Bev loved so much. As we all know, Bev had a big, open heart and a wide, wide embrace for all she met. And I believe she would want me this morning to say that we welcome you no matter your spiritual background or your religious beliefs. Know too that no matter your race or culture of origin, you are welcome here. Whether you are housed or unhoused, please know this is your home. Your neurodiversity is welcome here. You're welcome with your disabilities, level of formal education, or the amount of money that you possess. Those of us who are part of the LGBTQIA+ community are welcome here. Gender diversity is celebrated here, whether you are trans, non-binary, gender fluid, or gender expansive. Our welcome extends to include all those with or without documentation. As Bev would say, no one is illegal at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, California. All are welcome here. Todos son bienvenidos aquí. The music that we'll be hearing this morning in our celebration of life has all been selected by Bev. So she has a carefully curated playlist for you to enjoy as we remember, as we celebrate, and as we grieve. She wanted to kick things off with a group of feisty folks dear to her heart, the Raging Grannies, and come on up. A human life is sacred. It is sacred in its being born. It is sacred in its living. It is sacred in its dying. A human life remains sacred by our remembering. Poet Mary Oliver famously wrote, "To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go, to let her go." We gather on this winter morning to uplift the name of Beverly Marie Fitzpatrick. We come to honor a human life that blessed this world with her presence and passion, and through her living and loving. We come together to celebrate that Bev was a bright light in so many people's lives, that her life touch impacted and inspired so many people. We come together to place in the preciousness of memory a life that was mingled with our own. There's sadness and loss in this room. One whom we love and who has loved us, one who has been part of our lives for so many years, is no more among us. Those whom we love do indeed leave us, and when we lose them, no spoken words can lessen our grief. But what they were can never leave us. Who they were can never leave us. Who Bev was can never leave us. The strength of her presence, the fierceness of her sympathy, the brightness of her smile, the depth of her love, these are ours always, interfused with our thought and blended with our lives. We know that the last few years have been hard for Bev. Even so, she fought for more life and more living, more laughter and more joy, more time with those she loved, and more energy to champion the justice issues dearest to her heart. After the latest turn in her health in December, many of us gathered here today had no opportunity to say goodbye to Bev, or to say for one last time, thank you. Thank you for loving us and for sharing this life journey with us. This leaves an incompleteness in our hearts and adds a sharp edge to our grieving. Tracy Barrett Weisler reminds us, our grief is a holy thing. It's proof that another life touched ours in a profound way. It is a mark of love, a mark of connection, and the mark of a life well lived. Bev believed that, in the words of Forest Church, the one thing that can never be taken from this world, even by death, is the love we have given away before we die. The Universalist side of our faith tradition says that at birth, we emerge out of infinite love, and at death, we return to the love from whence we came. The Unitarian side of our faith says that what happens before and after our death is not what's important. In fact, says Joel Meller, we can't say for certainty what will happen when we die. What matters is the kind of life we lead while we are alive. And so, we sit together confronting the fact that life ends. Each of us gathered here today are at different stages in our own life's journey. Each of us here today look at the mysteries of life and death in different ways. Even amidst Bev's family, we speak diverse dialects of spirit and follow different faith traditions, or none. Yet this morning, we share one thing in common. At one point or another, to a small degree or large, the life of Bev has been woven into our own lives by blood, by marriage, by family ties, by friendship, by school, by marches and protests and rallies, by board meetings, by community, by church, by working side by side, by meeting heart with heart. This is our time to celebrate these precious connections. It's our time to remember how our lives have been touched and changed by Bev. It's a time to feel grateful for having shared the journey with her. This is our time to celebrate the generous, energy-filled, non-stop, going, committed, open-hearted, stubborn, and loving life that was Bev Fitzpatrick. And in that spirit, I invite Bev's beloved grandchildren to come forward and light a candle in her memory. I invite us to rise in body or spirit and join in singing When the Spirit Says Do. This is a song that Bev sang many times in this sanctuary, and a song she picked for us to sing again this morning. Please rise.
You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do, oh Lord. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing, oh Lord. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you gotta dance, oh Lord. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you gotta shout, oh Lord. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. You gotta march when the Spirit says march. You gotta march when the Spirit says march. When the Spirit says march, you gotta march, oh Lord. You gotta march when the Spirit says march. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do, oh Lord. You gotta do when the Spirit says do.
Please be seated.
Great Trees Fall by Maya Angelou, written for Nelson Mandela upon his death. And when the heaviest door in the universe slammed shut, and there were no knobs, the season of grief fell around us like the leaves of autumn. When great trees fall, Rocks on distant hills shudder. Lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall, in forests small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly. Our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Space is filled with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whisper to us. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed.
Thank you all for being here. I'm Jane, Bev's sister. So I'm going to talk about her younger years because a lot of you don't know what happened in the first part of her life. I was 5 years younger. I am 5 years younger. Kind of the annoying sister because 5 years, especially when you get to be a teenager, you're just annoying. And but anyway, she had her first 5 years in Compton, California, surrounded by family. My mom and dad lived there, several of my mom's brothers and sisters, and my mom's mom. And then my mom developed asthma, was diagnosed with asthma and told to go to a healthy place, which was up in the San Gabriel Hills, foothills, and we ended up in Tahunga, California. And we had a wonderful life. We were away from our family. We went down to see our Mickelson family as much as we could, but we were surrounded by family with the Methodist Church and Girl Scouts, our neighbors. Neighbors aren't like they are today. Our neighborhood was wonderful. We knew everybody. Bev's best friend lived across the street, and everybody took care of everybody. Bev was kind of a second mother to our neighbors next door who had a little girl, and they named her Kimberly Marie after Bev's Marie, and then Bev named her first child Kimberly, so she was very close to that family. But it was awesome living up there. We got to go to the Rose Parade every year. We sat on the curb in front of the Methodist church, so if we needed to go to the bathroom, we could go. And I mean, how wonderful was that, just to drive down there and be able to, you know, park and go to the parade every year. Later on in life, Bev loved to go down to Long Beach, Orange County, and stay with aunts and uncles. And so in the summertime, she would do that. So the summer of 1966, she had graduated high school, and she had been down there a couple years, and this year she went down to my uncle Jim and Marie's, and they lived in this new neighborhood, and they would walk around at night, and she found this house that had not been sold in that subdivision. And so she came home and she was on it, Mom and Dad, you need to move. And here's Jane going, but I'm going into 9th grade, I don't want to move. But we moved. And I stomped my feet and I told my dad, I said, unless we have a swimming pool, I'm not moving. So I signed him up for every swimming pool company there was. He kept getting all this literature. We didn't get a swimming pool though. But anyway, we moved and Beverly stayed there. And I'm like, now let's see, how did that work? Did she want us to go? But she had her second job was at Robinson's department store, which was kind of a high end. She had to wear black or navy blue. She looked beautiful every time she went to work, and she got an apartment. But that lasted about 6 months. And then she decided to move back down to Cyprus where we had moved. And like any young woman, she got an apartment and I think and made friends and was having a good time, worked for the phone company. And I think one time Mom and Dad went over to the apartment and there was a chain of beer tabs. And my dad was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But anyway, she thrived, of course, everywhere she thrived. Everybody loved her. And she kind of fell in love really quickly and met a man, got married, and in the first month just decided that he wasn't the man she thought he was. And anyway, but she also found out she was pregnant. And so then my daughter's going to read a little note from Kimberly, who is sick, who is her oldest daughter, who wasn't able to be here from Oklahoma today. But Bev came back home, and we all loved her and Kimberly, and it was a good move, although I didn't think so at the time. But and then just a quick story about meeting her husband, Dennis. Dennis was my high school teacher, and when Bev was back home, she wasn't really going out a lot, so my cousin, who we kind of moved down by, he was in my class, he was a football player, and so there were a lot of booster club activities, and one that Bev went to and she met Dennis was a wine tasting, which now that I think about it, probably wasn't too appropriate for a high school to have a wine tasting. But that's what they did. Maybe that was where Bev started her love of wine. But anyway, so there were all these young coaches there, and she met Dennis. And anyway, so for the last year of my high school, Dennis was not only my brother-in-law, but he was also my history teacher, which whenever we had team teaching at the time, and it was an innovative high school, and when Dennis was making up the tests, boy, you better have studied, because he was a tough history teacher. But anyway, Jessica's going to read what Kimberly wrote for today. And thank you again.
All right. As I begin to write a tribute to my mother, I realize how words can never express what a mother means to a child. It is extremely difficult to not be here with you all today. I am forever grateful for my time with Mom just a few weeks ago. Now my thoughts. The year was 1968. My mother had given birth to me at St. Mary's Hospital in Long Beach. A soon-to-be divorced single mom was frowned upon, to say the least. So my mother had decided to leave me with the sisters for adoption. I think this is where she began to live life on her terms, to go against the establishment and fight for what she knew to be right. She did not leave me with the sisters that day. Instead, she took me home to what was the most amazing family. I had a wonderful childhood. Having Beverly for my mother meant lots of love, laughter, and family around. The memories are still like rays of sunshine beaming in my memory. My mom did not only support my ventures as I was growing up, but she was also right there to be a leader, a chaperone, go on camping trips, or let us use the garage to make our homecoming signs. Our friends were always welcome. My mother embodied the motto, the more the merrier. I remember a day she made me feel so special. It was my 16th birthday. She came and checked me out of school for a fancy lunch and a day of shopping. That was a great day. She always made birthdays and holidays so special. Looking back when I was young, I remember thinking this was a success. She loved my dad so much, and she would have had 10 kids if she could. Our family just felt special. I can recall seeing Mom late at night at the kitchen table studying. She had gone back to school, having 5 children at home. Sometimes the only quiet moment for her was well into the morning hours. She always amazed me how she could handle so many things and do them all so well. She earned her degree and a spot on the dean's list just because she could. Like any mother-daughter relationship, we had what I refer to as our breakaway years. We weren't so close anymore. We were entering a new phase of our relationship. Neither of us knew how to navigate it very well. The lessons learned would eventually shape the beautiful adult relationship I will forever cherish. I will miss talking to you about so many things, Mom. A shared frustration over politics, a fun family memory, a rant about the establishment, updates on the grandchildren, a kind word about my baking business, always giving me the inspiration to follow my dreams. Mom, I intend to do just that. Thank you for your example, your zest for life, and your love. Recently, one of my children said to me, "Wow, that sounded just like Grandma Bev." There was a time when I might have denied that. This time, it made me smile.
Hi. I'm Lisa, Bev's second. A Greek philosopher, Heraclitus, once said, "No person ever steps in the same river twice, for it is not the same river, and they are not the same person." My mom had a unique relationship with each of you, with each of her children, and with each of her grandchildren. I'll try to summarize my childhood memories and paint a picture of the person my mom was to me. First, there were endless hours of homemade meals, ensuring that not only there were enough place settings for us, but always anyone else who came through the door. My parents had an open door policy. One of my mom's favorite meals was Malayan dinner, and if you haven't had it, you're missing out. My mom loved to create. She sewed our Halloween costumes, Christmas stockings, Christmas outfits. She made unique Easter basket clues that we've carried on into our children's lives. She spent hours planning birthdays and graduation parties, and she made us feel like we were one of a kind. She was our loudest cheerleader, whether it was at Girl Scouts or being a majorette twirler in the high school band or junior high band, and she was always at the variety of sports we all played. She welcomed it all. She made sacrifices, and the greatest of which was graduating with her teaching degree while raising all of us. She could accomplish anything she set out to do, and her determination and resilience was unrivaled. Our summers were never boring. They were filled with trips to the city pool until the one in our backyard was built. We hosted Japanese exchange students, and we attended the local Lutheran Bible school, one of my mom's many teaching experiences. One summer, she and my dad planned a 52-day, 38-state cross-country excursion. We camped in a tent trailer. We visited with family throughout the country, connecting with many relatives we hadn't met. That trip was a gift and will never be forgotten. I'd be remiss not to mention her devotion to my dad. She embraced everything that he lived for. I think she ended up loving football more than him. We attended every Friday night football game that he coached. And of course, we were at Mass every Sunday. As an adult, my mom made every effort to be present in our lives. And especially the lives of my children. She and my aunt drove up to the Bay Area, and she was always up for an excursion, and my daughter's Girl Scout troop was doing their bridging ceremony across the Golden Gate Bridge. So they came up, camped the night before, and then walked with us the next day across the Golden Gate Bridge. My daughter loved to shop my mom's closet. She would repurpose mom's clothes into her new fashion ensembles. In my son's senior year, he came to me with this crazy idea. He wanted to take his high school friends, 7 of his friends, on a road trip to Grandma's house. So they stayed in Grandma's 2.5-star Fresno Airbnb. She was a willing participant, and my son and his friends had the time of their lives. On more than one occasion, my mom's alter ego, the social justice warrior, would appear, and my children would be whisked away participating as a Wings volunteer. They'd go to Eco Garden, and they'd protest in the cause of the week. Yeah, I did too. They even held a banner at a Martin Luther King march. My mom's spent the last 20 years of her life with unwavering dedication to this community, teaching all of us the importance of fighting for justice and equality. Unfortunately, over the last 2.5 years, she experienced a circuitous path of hospitalizations and health complications. And those challenges tested all of us, our strength, our patience, our resilience. Yet because of the values that she instilled in all of us, my siblings and I pulled together, showing up for one another. Providing each other grace and forgiveness when we needed it. The support of her friends during this time was a true testament to her friendship she cultivated. We will always be grateful for all of you, all of her friends who gave us the break to rebuild our strength and recharge our energy for the next trip to Fresno. My mom's attributes seemed to be endless, her hope and zest for life shining through everything she did. Thank you.
Good afternoon, you guys. For those of you who don't know, I'm Bev's third born child out of 5, so I'm the middle child. How do you say what you need to say about mom? That you've known for 51 years in 3 minutes. Well, it's a celebration of life, Mom. A life well lived. A life that has done many beautiful things. A life that has been everywhere. My mom was toting her protest sign down Highway 99 when along came a school bus driver with full students inside. If you're going to Pajaro, ma'am, with me you can ride. He said, have you ever seen a road with so much dust and sand? She said, I've been everywhere in this here land. I've been to Tujunga, Cypress, Huntington Beach, Shell Beach, Chowchilla, Fresno, Chico, Mountain View. Hayward, Portland, Eugene, Seattle, San Diego, Seal Beach, Edmond, Jacksonville. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. I've been to Pismo, Sunset Beach, Carmel Beach, La Jolla Beach. I've been every beach on Highway 1. I've been to Maine, Florida, Hawaii, D.C., South Dakota, Texas. I've been to Niagara Falls, Canton, Ohio, Mount Rushmore, and the Grand Canyon. She went everywhere. And everywhere she went, she met somebody new. And no one was a stranger to my mom, to somebody she hadn't met yet. You know that statement you've heard, you never talk religion, politics, or sex? At work, or in public, or with family members you see once or twice a year. She and I did not follow that rule. We did not see eye to eye on any of those topics, but we listened and we learned from each other. It's easy to point fingers at somebody from a distance, but when you get up close and you truly listen, you begin to understand where that person's coming from and how they see life through their eyes and their experiences. A few days before my mom passed away, I live in Florida. I sent her a text. And I said, out of all the people I know, there's only a handful of people who most resemble Jesus. And I told her she's one of them. I said, when he said, love one another, and she takes back, thank you for noticing. If you don't think what you do in this life has an impact on people, look around. If you don't think love is contagious, look around. This room is full of people who knew at any time they could knock on her door and they were welcomed in. If you think what you do on social media will last, it won't. My mom got dirty. She stood up for what she believed in. She was a voice to those who needed to be heard. My mom did so much for so many people and asked nothing in return. You will definitely be missed, Mom. I will be telling my grandkids about you. It is never goodbye. It's see you later. I love you, Mom.
Lorenzo, we have one more sharing.
Hi, I'm Tammy, her fourth child. Throughout my childhood, my mom gave me many gifts, of which I am very grateful for, allowing me to be myself, the gift of independence, the value of play, and she encouraged me to pursue my passions. When we were kids, she allowed us R&R days. This was a free day you could take off from school just to rest and relax. No sickness required. This taught me the value and importance of time off, taking a break, guilt-free. As a mom, she was positive, optimistic, fun, and encouraging. My mom loved to cook and always made us homemade, healthy dinners. Throughout my childhood, my mom made sure we had dinner every night together around the kitchen table, 7 days a week. I have always cherished these dinners. It was our one time in the day to stop from our busy schedules, to talk, to share, to reconnect, to update, and to laugh. I continued these dinners with my own children throughout their childhood. I found that very important. I love that time together around the table with my kids. And so I'm very appreciative to her for this gift. My mom loved her connections with her grandchildren. This included attending their events, playing lots of games together, watching and talking football together, annual Pajaro trips, watching Big Brother, summer camping trips, summer gatherings in her pool, and our family fantasy football league, the Irish Bowl. At our annual awards ceremony at Pajaro this year, her grandsons renamed an award in her honor, the Grandma Bev Peacemaker Award. Although technically in fantasy football she was more competitor than peacemaker, but the overall memorial is fitting. My mom and I had lots of chit-chats through phone calls and during visits. I will miss those chats a lot. That's gonna be hard. We talked very often. We talked about my 3 children. She loved hearing the latest with them. She often told me how proud she was of me and my children. I followed in my mom's footsteps as an elementary school teacher. I loved sharing stories with her about my class and my students. Anytime I told my mom a story, she had one to share about her experiences as a teacher. Through our conversations, I have realized that my mom and I love teaching for the same reason, because of the connections we make with our students, truly getting to know them and helping them. My mom was a mentor teacher toward the end of her career, helping guide new teachers. I too have appreciated all of her guidance and wisdom. My mom is really a role model for all of us in social fitness. She exercised this daily. She had so many friends and social groups, and she made friends quickly wherever she went. We are so grateful for all of her friends who visited her during the past 2.5 years. This was the best medicine she could ask for, and I think it kept her mentally and emotionally strong during her health challenges. Thank you, Mom, for helping so many people and touching so many hearts through your work as a teacher at Wings, the Unitarian Church, the Dakota Eco Garden, Community Alliance, Peace Fresno, Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, and all the many organizations you devoted so much time and love to. Thank you for your endless love, support, and laughter to your children and to your grandchildren. Thank you for guiding us on how to be a good human, a loving mother, a loving grandmother, a caring teacher, and a devoted community member. I already miss you so much. I'm so appreciative and grateful for your love.
Okay, so for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm the oldest grandchild. My name's Lauren. I'm Kimberly's daughter. I wrote a letter to my grandma of things that I wanted to say but never did. So I'm going to read it to her because I believe she's here with us in spirit. Dear Grandma, words could never express how much you mean to me, but I'm going to give it my best shot. From birth, you were always there. When others left, you always stayed. You were more than just a grandma. You were my mom for the first 7 years of my life. 7 years of happy memories. You have been there for me through all walks of my life. After high school, you supported me. When I was having problems with my mom, you took me in again. When my first marriage went south, you provided not only a shoulder to cry on, but a safe haven for me and my 2 children. One of my regrets is not telling you how deeply sorry I am for everything that I put you through during that time. You were a second parent to Haley and Hayden when they were little, and I owe so much credit to you for assisting this naive mother in getting my son tested for autism. You were so great with Hayden, and he loved you so much. There are few people that get to experience being loved and cared for the way that you did. The world was definitely less scary when you were here. You always felt like my comfort and my home. And you always saw the best in me, even when I couldn't see it in myself. When my self-worth was low, you made me feel like I was enough. And you were always on my side, even when I didn't deserve it. I'll always remember all of our road trips together, happy hour with Haley and Hayden watching Ellen, cooking in our Bob Green cookbook. I'll always remember your contagious laugh and how full of life you were. And I promise to never stop sharing stories of you with my children, so they will all know how amazing you are. You are a beautiful soul with a compassionate heart who always fought for peace. And I love you very much.
Hi, my name's Aiden. I am Grandma's 5th grandchild. My grandmother, Grandma Bev, or as many of us called her, Gigi or Bev Bub, is to me simply Grandma. Of her many talents, perhaps her most prominent is storytelling. Every time I saw Grandma or called her, she was quick to break into a story, usually about the past couple days or maybe the week. If I was lucky, I'd get a grander story about her upbringing or childhood. But usually, it was just whatever had happened the last day or two. And almost without fail, she'd bring up a new character, someone I had never heard of. And I'd look over at my mom, and I'd be like, "Yo, Mom, who's this guy? I don't know. You didn't tell me about this. You didn't warn me about this." And she'd look back at me like, "I don't remember him either." But we'd piece it together. We'd play some detective, figure out who that person was, only for them to not be mentioned for another year, at which point we'd have to play detective again. This was such a common occurrence, in fact, that all of my cousins and I recognized it, and we developed a name. We called these people the RMFs, Grandma's RMFs, or her random male friends. Some of you guys might be RMFs. Now you know. But okay. But over time, over years, after hearing about each RMF a small handful of times, I started realizing that these male friends weren't so random. The reason she talked about each friend so sparsely wasn't because she didn't care about them or she didn't spend much time with them. It was just that she had so many people in her life that she couldn't possibly talk about all of her stories, all of these people, all of the happenings, all of the time. Which also explains why she typically wouldn't bother delving into the backstory of each RMF when she brought them up to me. Because to her, each RMF was very important. Each was someone whom I couldn't have possibly forgotten over the past 14 months. Because even though each guy in the story was just an RMF to me, he was one of the myriad of people that Grandma had a very deep connection with. I shouldn't say he, because obviously close to half of these random friends were also not male. But Grandma did not have a ton of RMFs. She had a ton of VGFs, very good friends. And that is exactly how I will remember Grandma, as someone that never stopped making connections with people. Even though she had more friends than people I've met in my lifetime, she didn't use that as an excuse to dismiss anyone. Instead, she took the time to create a bond with everyone, and continued making more very good friendships. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm his sister. I have no idea which grandchildren number I am. I have so many stories of my grandma, but to me, Grandma Bev was the color red. Not just because the wall in her kitchen was red, or her nails that I always wanted to match so badly were red. Her whole personality shined red. She was kind, like a heart, building her world around family and love. But she was also a passionate red, like fire as well. Although a part of Grandma's family, I knew that it wasn't her only world. I got to see her at church. I've been here many a time. I got to work with her at Wings, even following in her footsteps and creating a plan similar to Wings for San Francisco for a class. I got to watch her speak at protests, like my mom said, holding signs. And I got to watch her fight so all families out there could have a good life like I was lucky enough to have with my grandma. She was a bright, bright red. And after a few vodka martinis, her cheeks would be red too. But with that, my main image of my grandma isn't her drinking, it's just that in this family, we laugh. Some of the jokes might be called immature. We often laugh at fart jokes. But we all honor our inner children, because Grandma always did. She laughed at everything, from said fart joke to the political adult joke. But I think the way you could get the biggest laugh out of Grandma was the teenage dirty joke. When we were at Pajaro, one of the plays we made about dongles, whether wide or long, a very thinly veiled innuendo. And I don't think I've ever seen my grandma laugh harder. I think with so many grandkids, Grandma got to be a bit of a teenager for way more than those 7 years that you technically are. So that's my favorite image of my grandma. Crying, laughing, cheeks red and heart full, with that vodka martini in hand, surrounded by family in her favorite place in the world. So we might not have the vodka here, and the crying may have come before the laughing, but I hope we all leave with faces red from laughter and loving, fiery hearts, just like my grandma. Thank you.
I knew it was going to be hard to follow the Raging Grannies, but I really didn't know it was going to be like this, I'm going to be honest. My name is Logan. I'm the middle child's son, so do with that what you will. And we do have to go over digital footprint, Dad, after your speech. But to my grandma Bev, I'll miss the memories like driving across the United States and stopping at every single Starbucks along the way. I'll forever cherish the memories I have of you and I along the way. I'll forever cherish going to Uncle Harry's, picking up as many bagels as we could and bringing them to the homeless shelter. I'll remind myself of the times you took care of me at my dad's house while I was sick, and I will never forget the way that you used to yell out of the master bedroom window in front of your pool that food was ready. Grandma, I was fortunate to be your grandson, and I was more fortunate to be a part of this family, and for that I can thank you. I can never repay that gift, but I am grateful to be your grandson. I love you very much. Thank you.
Help me out here, Bev. gratia plena, Maria, gratia plena, ave, ave Dominum, Dominum tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Ave Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, ora pro nobis, ora pro nobis, peccatoribus, nugget in hora mortis nostrae, in hora mortis nostrae, in hora mortis nostrae. Ave
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me find it again. This would happen. There it is. I am Chris Beck. I'm going to hold it together, too. Bev was my dear friend. We met at Roding Elementary School nearly 30 years ago, and our friendship began. Over the years, a strong and valued bond was created. She was an inspirational woman. As my sister-in-law pointed out, it's interesting that she and Jimmy Carter died just a day apart. Both were humanitarians, whether on the global level or the local level. I am humbled by her strength and her dedication to helping others. Bev was a tireless and committed volunteer for Wings. The number of families she helped was a testament to her dedication. She simply loved doing what she did. Her loyalty was unwavering. Bev was an outstanding educator. She mentored countless teachers throughout her career, always willing to serve and assist her colleagues with her wealth of knowledge and experience. Now, we all know that Bev had the gift of gab. And I say that with the greatest of respect. Her stories were full of memories. Her love for Kim, Kevin, Kyle, Lisa, and Tammy always shone through. And her pride in her grandchildren was unparalleled. I want to mention 3 angels who gave Bev love, support, and constant companionship: Judith, Bob, and Teresa. Each of you gave her great joy and comfort, and that includes your furry friends, Jones and Riley. Bev, I will miss you every day. I'd like to think that you and Dennis are together now, likely talking football and enjoying a beer. I'd like to leave you with these comforting words. You don't get to spend the rest of your life with them, but they got to spend the rest of their life with you. And there is beauty in that. Thank you.
Hello, I am Teresa, who Chris so nicely just mentioned. So I need to open mine as well. As I came in and sat here and we prepared to start remembering Bev, I felt like this was an event that we've all been to, where we're honoring someone for the service, for the time, for the life they've given, and yet she's given her life. And we're here to keep that life in our hearts. I've only known Bev since 2011, when I chose to jump feet first into the social justice, anti-war, political activist world of Fresno. And Bev was president of Peace Fresno at the time. And she brought about an event that drew my attention, bringing Medea Benjamin here, who I had followed with Code Pink for some time prior. And so I was ready to be that activist with Bev, to be on the street with all of the Peace Fresno people. And I jumped in and knew that that energy that she brought was what I wanted. She pulls you in with her care, her compassion, her love. She's a compassionate warrior that a friend of mine labeled her as. And then I joined WILF, Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, and found out that Bev had recently joined as well. So we were both new to WILF. And through all of that energy, I danced in flash mobs with Bev with 1 Billion Rising. I went down to San Diego to protest at CEO homes, to protest drone warfare with Code Pink. I went to Beale Air Force Base with Bev. She was arrested at Beale Air Force Base, not the time I was with her. She was committed. We marched in San Francisco. We marched in Fresno. We were on the corner. But that was just our outward presence. She did all the back work for all of these organizations. And homelessness was always at the core of her compassion. She was delivering toilet paper to the homeless when I met her. And she was part of Dakota Eco Garden Advisory Board and started Wings. We've heard all of these stories, but she walked the walk. She helped start in those early years our own overpass light brigade, built light boards, and we were out at night on the overpasses, and we went to Santa Cruz. Let's go at last minute, let's go and join our overpass light brigade and watch a film and head back home after we do our demonstration. She was ready for that, and I was ready to be by her side, and my life changed, and I became that outward activist, that better person. And then listening to those stories, that all of us have heard those stories, she brought something out of every person she met and shared it with the next person she introduced them to. So, new nurse at St. Agnes. I come to see her in the afternoon and she introduces me to him and says, yeah, he asked me where I'm from and I told him, straight out of Compton. And then she told me a bit about his history. All of her caregivers, all of her nurses knew that she was a caring individual who cared about them as well as the world, because they knew they had to have her devices charged. She had to be able to get online to talk to family, to talk to friends, to be on Zoom meetings, to send emails out, to email our representatives, and she told everyone what she was involved with. So the local and global community that Bev was concerned about, she brought into her everyday life, even while she was sick and going through this journey. And in her getting sick, she did another beautiful thing. She brought her family and her friends together. And that, hearing the stories that her grandkids labeled the, RMFs and VBFs, well, we heard those stories too. And all of a sudden, 2.5 years ago, we were trying to piece together, we've heard these names. Who are they? Where are they? How do we get a hold of people? And they were doing the same with us. We all connected. And Bev has brought this message that we can't add more days to our life, but we can add so much more life to our days. And I live with that every day. And I'm not saying goodbye. I'm saying, stay with me, keep me out in the streets, keep me in that activist mode, and direct me where we need to be. Thank you.
I'm old school. Love is the central flame of the universe, nay, the very fire itself. It is written that God, hello, Spirit, the divine, is love, and that we are its expressed likeness, the image of the eternal being. Love, its self-givingness through creation, the impartation of the divine through the human. Love is an essence, an atmosphere, which defies analysis, as does its life itself. It is that which is and cannot be explained. It is common to all people, to all animal life, and evident in the response of plants to those who love them. Love reigns supreme over all. The essence of love, while elusive, pervades everything, fires the heart, stimulates the emotions, renews the soul, and proclaims the spirit. Only love knows love, and love knows only love. Words cannot express its depth of meaning. A universal sense alone bears witness to this divine fact. That's adapted from the book of John. Bev, I want to thank you. You lived your life fearlessly, boldly, courageously, lovingly. You stepped forward and were always ready to extend a helping hand. You saw the person and not their circumstances. You made life better for so many. You continued to do this even while battling the West Nile virus. You continued to share your positive, loving energy, to tell your stories, and to bring others joy. Thank you for being there for so long for me to really get to know you and know you as a beloved friend. I spent many hours with Bev in the past few years, and am so sorry there will be no more. Our conversations took us all over the place. Family tales, her social justice work, her beloved friendships, the occasional esoteric conversation, and what happens when our spirits leave our body, to frequently sharing of her morning political comics from Bob Hutchins, and always to sports. She is hoping she had the family's winning fantasy football team this year. Was she going to? Most of you know that Bev could certainly tell a good story, but her favorite topic in most of our conversations was her family. More than once, Bev shared what she was most proud of was her family. She loved how each of you were individuals, bright and caring, and doing things in the world. She was so happy that you all like and love each other and enjoy being together. She loved each of you deeply and unconditionally. She believed her greatest contribution to society was her family. Love is the central flame of the universe, nay, the very fire itself. Your beloved mother and our beloved friend Beverly Fitzpatrick was a beautiful expression of this love. You will be missed, Bev.
If you've given something of your possessions, your belongings, to Wings of Fresno, would you raise your hand? Yes. If you volunteered, like she had her grandkids and kids do, your time and energy with Wings, would you raise your hand? Thanks, April. Bev Fitzgerald was a big personality. She was the ultimate advocate whose weapons were compassion, energy, strength of character, and a big heart. I've been asked to reflect on her involvement with Wings Advocacy Fresno, a not-for-profit organization she helped found. And I believe this story of the beginning of Wings, which many of you have heard, still gives homage to the person of Bev Fitzpatrick. As a member of the UU Church, Bev joined a group of social justice activists visiting a homeless encampment near Poverello House each Thursday. They distributed water, toilet paper, and other items they had gathered to make people's lives a little easier. But Bev was not there just to help the homeless. Bev was there to get to know, befriend, and help individuals in need, talking, laughing, commiserating, and sharing. After the city of Fresno destroyed the encampment and dispersed the people, Bev, Karen Goodman, Anna Hecker, and others began searching for these new friends. They were happy to find one lady who had been housed in an apartment, and they went to visit her and found her new place a shelter only, devoid of furniture and household furnishings. She was sleeping on her floor in her old sleeping bag. So Bev and others went home, began gathering furniture, linens, kitchen items from their own houses and from the houses of their friends. They took them to the lady. They helped her set them up in her apartment. They helped this woman who was beginning a new life with the dignity that comes from having a home. At some point, Bev and the others realized other newly housed people have the same needs. With some research, they found agencies that were willing to give money to get the apartments. They found community groups that were providing food and clothing. But the items needed to make a place a home, filling it with the furnishings and possessions needed for a fuller life. This was an area of need. This was a service niche, a way to help the formerly unhoused individuals have the chance for a more dignified existence. From a few strong women to a growing group of spouses and friends, to spreading the word for donations, to filling an old warehouse, to building an organized, sustained effort, to becoming a nonprofit organization. Bev was integral in every step of Wings Advocacy Fresno and its continuing service. In closing, I borrow words from Joe Biden, who recently spoke in eulogy to Jimmy Carter. I adjusted some of the words, but I'm sure that both of those men would have loved Bev and would be fine with my using these words. Strength of character is the presence to understand that everyone should be treated with dignity and respect. Character is not about being perfect. It's about asking ourselves, do we strive to do the right thing? At our best, we share the better part of ourselves: joy, solidarity, love, commitment, not for reward, but in reverence for the incredible gift of life, to make every minute of our time on earth count. That is the definition of a good life of purpose and meaning, of character, and filled with the power of hope and love. The people of Wings, and all of us here, I'm sure, honor one of our founders, Bev Fitzpatrick, a strong and memorable woman of character. Thank you.
Sosteniendo todo que amo. Hay un amor sosteniendo todo. Yo descanso en este amor. There is a love holding you. There is a love
Bev was not one to sit still for long, and I think at this point she would say, we need a little bit of a stretch break. So let's everybody get up for a second, and if you need to shake anything out, do that. And let's take in a nice deep breath together. And as we exhale, let's sit on back down. So we know there are so many more memories and stories, and we know there isn't time for all of them. But Bev's family wanted to create space for maybe 3 or 4 very brief sharings. So if you do have a brief, emphasis brief, story or sharing or just how Bev touched your life and you'd like to share that with all and with the family, please. And our first brief comment.
Hello.
Oh, let me.
That's not on.
There we go.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yes. Okay, I'm Jerry Bill from Dakota Eco Garden. That's on the board of Dakota Eco Garden with Bev, but I knew her first from Peace Fresno, and I just wanted to share that I was the one that invited her to become a member of the board of Peace Fresno, and she was doing so much I thought she'd say, oh, I can't do one more thing. No, instead she jumped at the chance. She said, oh, I'd love to be on that board. It was a great decision. We were so happy to have her there. And one other thing I'm going to mention, I grew up in the Bay Area, and we had these cement trucks that would drive around with a slogan on them, and the slogan was, find a need and fill it. That was Bev. Anywhere she saw a need, she'd step in to fill the void, and of course that's how Wings got started. Okay, thank you.
I'm Bob Hudgens. Bev and I became very close friends when we worked together at Wings. And as you've heard, Bev was the type of person that made friends with everyone she met, including coworkers, colleagues, and even the clients of the various organizations that she was associated with. 5 years ago, when the COVID pandemic began and all the organizations shut down, including Wings, Bev drove around and picked up many of her homeless friends and drove them down to get their COVID vaccinations. And she opened her home to a young homeless woman who had been living on this church campus for several weeks because she was concerned for her safety. Very few people have that level of courage and compassion for others. But Bev's dedication to helping others was only surpassed by her dedication to her family. She was first and foremost a mother and a grandmother. She spent the last weeks of her life in a hospital bed with her iPad, purchasing Christmas gifts for every family member through Amazon.com. And when I last saw her on Christmas Eve, she told me that the Christmas gift that she received, that she most treasured, was a wall calendar compiled by her daughter with several dozen family photographs of the previous year, and as well as highlighting birthdays and graduations and other milestones in individual family members' lives. She went through that calendar with me month by month and pointed out the pictures that she found most endearing, and I could just see the joy in her face. I think if there's a single word that best describes Bev, it was devotion. She was devoted to her family, her friends, to the organizations in which she volunteered, and to the causes that they sought to alleviate. Her Christmas card to me this year said, "Merry Christmas and Free Palestine." Bev had a very unique optimism and belief that no matter how bleak things looked, they could and would be better. And she was steadfast in her efforts to make sure she did everything in her power to make that happen. But she didn't do that to be a heroic. She was not trying to be inspirational. She was not trying to be a role model. She was just being Bev. And it's that selfless concern for other people, that buoyant spirit, upbeat spirit, and that positive attitude that can-do attitude that she had that I most admired and I will most dearly miss.
Hi everybody, I'm April. I'm not really a good crier, but hell, Bev was just a really great person. I'm a product of Wings. Bev was the person that came to my door and knocked on it and said, "Hi, I'm from Wings." I'm like, oh my God, what is this lady, you know? But she brought me the furniture. I still have that furniture. I have the little pink thing that says my name on it. But I told this lady, Bev, I said, I want to help you for the rest of my life. I just want to thank you for sharing Bev with me. I told Bev I would come and help her because I felt like she gave me something that I didn't have any money for. And so I went and helped her, and then she gave me the gift of what it was like to help other people. I'm a hippie, my culture's hippie, so like people say I'm white, but I'm not, I'm hippie. And it was glad to see that there was more hippies in this world, and every time I went with Bev, there was more hippies, and then more. And that's all I have to share. I want to say, Bev, sayonara, but I love you, girl.
My middle name is Beverly, so I'm going to break the rules and I'm going to talk. Jim wanted to say something. What did you want to say? Yeah. Okay. Hi. I'm Jane's daughter, and the only girl, so they named my middle name after Beverly, and she's my only aunt. Okay, if you're not going to say anything productive. Luckily, we came here about a month ago for Bev to meet Gemma. Last time we were here was when Bev first came and got in the hospital, and she was in the ICU, so... Oh, you're going to say something else? And we couldn't bring Gemma up, so she didn't get to meet her. But this last time, we snuck her in. Bev was like, no, she can come. There's no rules against that. But there were, and we weren't supposed to, but we ran really fast down the hall into the room and closed the curtain and closed the door. And Gemma got to meet Aunt Bev and put lotion on her hands and play games with her. So we were really glad we got to meet that they got to meet. Hold on, let me finish. A couple things I just want to say real quick is we, as my only aunt, we spent a lot of time together. Couple memories is she took me when I was young, maybe 6 or 7. We flew to Florida and we went to see Lauren, and we went to Disney World. Bev took a 7 and 8-year-old to Disney World by herself, and I'm sure that was not fun. But one of my memories is spilling the ice cream she just got on my lap, and we were at the parade, and I was very uncomfortable and probably whining. But also, I'm wearing my coffee earrings because she took me to Starbucks for the first time and said, you can get a caramel macchiato or a cinnamon dulce latte, and you'll love them. So she bought me my first Starbucks, and I will miss her, and we have a lot of great memories. What do you want to say? Say, I love you, Aunt Bev. No, okay.
I love you, Aunt Bev.
Okay, thank you.
No one person can sum up the life of another. Life is too complex and too precious to be passed over with mere words. Rather, it must remain as it is remembered by those who loved and watched and shared and were so deeply, deeply loved. It is to each of you then that the living memories of Bev are committed. This is how Bev lives on. That's the thing about people who are loved. Their memories keep they're never far away. I invite you to respond, we remember her. In the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember her. In the crash of the waves and in the stillness of the sea, we remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember her. In the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember her. In the blueness of the skies and in the heat of summer, we remember her. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember her. When we march for justice or hold a candle at a vigil, when we affirm Black Lives Matter or chant women's rights under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back. We remember her. When we see those who are unhoused not as a problem, but as people worthy of homes and dignity, we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember her. When we are lost and sick of heart, we remember her. When we have joys and special celebrations we yearn to share, we remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live, for she is part of us as we remember her. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. A life in pictures. Across our differences of belief, I invite you to join together in prayer, knowing that love is the center of it all. Let us pray. O love undying, we commit the memory of Bev Fitzpatrick to our own hearts as she is returned to the love from whence she came. Eternal and loving Spirit, giver of life and so also of death, we remember Bev's sister Jane, her children Kim, Lisa, Kevin, Tammy, Kyle. We remember Bev's daughters and sons-in-law Jeff, Evelyn, and Shannon, her grandchildren, nephews, and niece, and all her other family members, extended family, and friends. May they be comforted at this time of parting. We hope they remember Bev well, understanding and forgiving her imperfections, treasuring those many, many, many shared moments of happiness, and opening to the grace and healing that wrap all families in love. Through all our days, we are upheld by a power we do not fully understand. Joy comes to us beyond our expectation and difficulty beyond our imagining. O Spirit of life, be with us, giving us the peace of acceptance and understanding, and the assurance of those things that never die, those things that pass from person to person through the generations. Let us, who remain as keepers of memories, turn our eyes and hearts again to the world of the living, to the needs of those we love, to the work we have to do, to a life of sympathy and generosity for all those who live and grow and die. May our love for Bev be witnessed, renewed, and strengthened on this day and henceforth in our caring and love for others and for this earth, so that, like Bev, we may be part of the world's hope and not its fear, its love and not its hate, and thus know in new and deeper ways the great mystery of life that connects us all. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. In a moment, we'll rise in body or spirit and join in singing one of Bev's favorite songs. And I note that it is also one of Jimmy Carter's favorite songs, and it was sung at his celebration of life on Thursday. Let's rise and sing John Lennon's Imagine.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Hope someday you'll join us, and the whole world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. Folks with empty hands. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Hope someday you'll join us, and the whole world will live as one. And the whole world will live as one.
I invite us to remain standing. Before I offer our release and benediction, a cell phone was found, so if you find yourself missing a cell phone, the ushers will have it out at the front of the church. After I do offer the release and benediction, we're going to invite Bev's immediate family to go down the center aisle, and there'll be a receiving line out in the foyer. Please give them a moment to get in place. And then once you pay your respects to the family, if you just step outside, turn to the left, walk right into the sun-filled courtyard where there will be a lunch served and an opportunity for more sharing of stories, sharing of memories, and celebrating Bev. And now, into the hands of time, we release Beverly Marie Fitzpatrick. Having left us now, she goes free of the earth. Radiance knows her. Grown lighter than breath, she is set free in our remembering. Grown brighter than vision, she goes dark into the hill that holds her peace. She is hidden among all that is and cannot be lost. And for us, the living, like Bev, may we forever hope in the possibilities of life. May we forever share the adventure of ideas. May we know peace by not expecting the impossible. May we know true joy through helping what is possible come true. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.